Chapter 8, Section 2, The Roman Empire, page 240. Objectives. Learn how Rome ruled an empire. Understand the Greek influence on Rome. Identify key aspects of Roman architecture and technology. Learn about key aspects of Roman law. Key terms. Province, a unit of an empire. Colosseum, a large amphitheater built in Rome around AD 70, site of contests and combats. Aqueduct, a structure that carries water over long distances. Polytheism, a belief in more than one god. Arch, a curved structure used as a support over an open space, as in a doorway. In his epic poem, the Aeneid, Virgil challenges Romans to play to their strengths. The following passage expresses his beliefs and hopes for Rome. Others will do better at making breathing figures out of metal, or giving lumps of marble living faces. They will be better orators, better astronomers. But you, Roman, remember, you are to rule the nations of the world. Your arts will be to bring the ways of peace. Be merciful to the defeated and smash the proud completely. From the Aeneid. Virgil says that other cultures may produce beautiful art or fine philosophers and astronomers, but Romans are most fit to govern, he says, and will do so wisely and fairly. Virgil was not alone in his hopes for just rule under Augustus, the first Roman emperor. Page 241. Ruling an empire. When Augustus came to power, Roman control had already spread far beyond Italy. Under Augustus and the emperors who followed him, Rome gained even more territory. Look at the map titled The Roman Empire at the beginning of this chapter. The Roman Empire stretched from Britain to Egypt. Rome controlled all the lands around the Mediterranean. With pride, Romans called the Mediterranean Mare Nostrum, or Our Sea. The power of Augustus. Augustus was an intelligent ruler. When he was struggling for power, he often ignored the Senate and its laws, but after he won control, he changed his manner. He showed great respect for the Senate and was careful to avoid acting like a king. He did not want to suffer the same fate as Julius Caesar. Augustus often said that he wanted to share his power with the Senate. He even said that he wanted to restore the Republic. What really happened was quite different. Romans were so grateful for Rome's peace and prosperity that they gave Augustus as much power as he wanted. Governing conquered peoples. The Romans took some slaves after a conquest, but most of the conquered people remained free. To govern, the Romans divided their empire into provinces. Each province, or area of the empire, had a Roman governor supported by an army. Often the Romans built a city in a new province to serve as its capital. Wisely, the Romans did not usually force their way of life on conquered people. They allowed these people to follow their own religions. Local rulers ran the daily affairs of government. As long as there was peace, Roman governors did not interfere in conquered people's lives. Rather, they kept watch over them. Rome wanted peaceful provinces that would supply the empire with the raw materials it needed. Rome also wanted the conquered people to buy Roman goods and to pay taxes. Many of the conquered people adopted Roman ways. Many learned to speak Latin, the language of the Romans, and worshipped Roman gods. Page 242. The Five Good Emperors. Augustus died in AD 14. For 82 years after his death, Roman history was a story of good, bad, and terrible emperors. Two of the worst were Caligula and Nero. Both may have been insane. Caligula proclaimed himself a god and was a cruel, unfair ruler. Nero murdered his half-brother, his mother, and his wife. In fact, Caligula and Nero were so despised that Romans later tried to forget them by removing mention of their reigns from official records. In AD 96, Rome entered what is called the Age of the Five Good Emperors. Only the last of these emperors had a son. Each of the others adopted the best young man he could find to be the next emperor. Perhaps the greatest of the five good emperors was Hadrian. He worked hard to build a good government. His laws protected women, children, and slaves. He issued a code of laws so that all laws were the same throughout the empire. Hadrian reorganized the army so that soldiers were allowed to defend their home provinces. This gave them a greater sense of responsibility. Hadrian traveled throughout his empire, commissioning many buildings and other structures. He even traveled to the British Isles, where he commissioned a great wall to be built, parts of which still stand today. Hadrian also encouraged learning. The last of the good emperors, Marcus Aurelius, chose his son Commodus to follow him. Commodus was a terrible leader who ruled with great brutality. His reign ended the age of peace and prosperity that Rome had enjoyed under its 5 previous emperors. The empire in decline. During the reign of Commodus, things started going badly for the Roman Empire. In Chapter 9 you will learn how bad government, economic problems, and foreign invaders all helped contribute to the fall of the Roman Empire. Reading check. Why was Hadrian considered one of the 5 good emperors? Page 243. The Greek influence on Rome. The Romans had long admired Greek achievements. People said that Hadrian spoke Greek better than he spoke Latin. Marcus Aurelius wrote a famous book of philosophy in Greek. Many Romans visited Greece to study Greek art, architecture, and ideas about government. Religion. Greek religion influenced Roman religion. Like the Greeks, Romans practiced polytheism, the belief in more than one god, and offered prayers and sacrifices to their gods. Many Roman gods and goddesses had Greek counterparts. For example, the Roman god of the sky, Jupiter, shared characteristics with the Greek god Zeus. The Roman goddess of arts and trades, Minerva, is similar to the Greeks' Athena. The Romans also adopted heroes from Greek mythology, such as Heracles, known as Hercules to the Romans. As their empire spread, Romans appealed to and adopted other foreign gods as well. Building on ideas. Both the Greeks and the Romans valued learning, but in different ways. The Greeks were interested in ideas. They sought to learn truths about the world through reason. They developed studies such as mathematics, philosophy, and astronomy, or the study of the stars and planets. The Romans benefited from the study of these subjects, but they were more interested in using these studies to build and organize their world. Under the Romans, architecture and engineering blossomed. With these skills, the Romans built their empire. Reading check. In what ways did the Greeks and Romans value learning? Page 244. Architecture and technology. Early Roman art and architecture copied the Etruscan style. Then, the Romans studied and copied Greek sculpture and architecture. Later, they developed their own art and architecture styles. The Roman style. Roman statues and buildings were heavier and stronger in style than those of the Greeks. The Romans made advances in the use of the arch, a curved structure used as a support over an open space, as in a doorway. Romans used arches to build larger structures. They used wide arched ceilings to create large open spaces inside buildings. In earlier times, most large buildings had been built of bricks and then covered with thin slabs of marble. However, Romans developed an important new building material, concrete. Concrete was a mix of stone, sand, cement, and water that dried as hard as rock. Concrete helped the Romans construct buildings that were taller than any previously built. The Colosseum. Possibly the greatest Roman building was the Colosseum, the site of contests and combats between people and animals. This giant arena held 50,000 spectators. Its walls were so well built that the floor of the arena could be flooded for mock naval battles in real boats. Stairways and ramps ran through the building. There were even elevators to carry wild animals from dens below up to the arena. Roads and aqueducts. Roman engineers built roads from Rome to every part of the empire. Do you know the saying, "All roads lead to Rome"? In Roman times, all of the major roads did lead to Rome, so no matter what road travelers started out on, they could get to Rome. These roads allowed the Roman military to maintain firm control by traveling quickly to all parts of the empire. These roads also helped trade to spread throughout the empire and made the empire more prosperous. Romans were famous for their aqueducts, structures that carried water over long distances. The aqueducts were huge lines of arches, often many miles long. A channel along the top carried water from the countryside to the cities. Roman aqueducts tunneled through mountains and spanned valleys. Some are still being used today. To learn more, see the Eyewitness Technology feature titled The Roman Aqueduct. Reading check. What are some characteristics of Roman buildings? Page 245. The Roman Aqueduct. The Romans built aqueducts to bring fresh water to the city. Sources of water had to be at elevations higher than the city, as pumping was not a practical way of moving water. Engineers tunneled through mountains and bridged valleys to create a gradual, even slope. Follow the numbers to see how the water flowed from the mountains to the city. 1. Water from mountain springs flows into a collecting pool. Mud and gravel settle out. 2. Water pressure carries water across the valley and up the other side to a pool at a lower elevation. 3. To maintain a gentle slope, arches carry the water high above the ground. Roman arches. Water traveled through hollow passages in the stonework which was supported by the arches. 4. The water runs underground in tunnels and trenches. 5. Aqueducts bound for different parts of the city cross at this tower. 6. The water runs into a settling pool. From there, smaller channels carry it to public baths and fountains. Keeping the water fresh. Around 4 out of every 5 miles of aqueduct ran underground. Underground tunnels kept the water fresh by keeping out dirt and animals. The Roman government did not allow anyone to damage an aqueduct, pollute the water, or use it for private consumption. Page 246. Roman law. Like Roman roads, Roman law spread throughout the empire. The great Roman senator Cicero expressed Roman feeling about law when he said, "What sort of thing is the law? It is the kind that cannot be bent by influence, or broken by power, or spoiled by money." A later ruler, named Justinian, created a code of justice from Roman law. That code includes these laws. No one suffers a penalty for what he thinks. No one may be forcibly removed from his own house. The burden of proof is upon the person who accuses. In inflicting penalties, the age and inexperience of the guilty party must be taken into account. Code of Justinian. Roman law was passed on to other cultures, including our own. In fact, Roman ideas of justice are basic to our system of laws. For example, under Roman law, persons accused of crimes had the right to face their accusers. If reasonable doubt existed about a person's guilt, that person would be considered innocent. Reading check. Recall 2 features of Justinian's code and explain their meaning.